Well, hey, what do you know? This is like the fifth video I've recorded wearing the same Lions jersey for today, so a lot of these are going to look the same. I hope my thumbnails don't look too similar. They probably will. This video I want to talk about is a little different than the last ones I've couple of recorded. They don't have anything to do with gaming. Every now and then, I'll do like a movie review or a documentary review, and oh boy, this documentary is something else. I know I'm like a week or two behind other people talking about it, but the EDP445 documentary, a lot of it's pretty heavy. It's pretty dirty, pretty mature content. So I'll kind of be gentle around what I talk about with like certain language. But one thing I won't be gentle about is the dude's a psycho. He's messed up. He needs to be put in jail immediately, and that's probably where he should live and spend the rest of his days. I know that can be pretty harsh, and generally I'm someone that believes in second chances and believes in rehabilitation and all that stuff, forgiveness, and yeah, sure. But I think you can have forgiveness and be forgiven, but still face a punishment for, a moral punishment for what's going on. This guy, EDP445, if you're watching this video, you probably know, you've heard about him. I'm not the first person to talk about him. I certainly won't be the last. I'm not the biggest guy to talk about him. In fact, I'm probably one of the smaller creators talking about him. And to a certain extent, I didn't want to make this video right after I watched it and right after it came out because I didn't want to just be a leech. That sounds wrong. I don't think people that cover it are leeches. I think they probably just want to get the word out there too. What I mean is I didn't want to get the wrong perspective that I'm creating this just to try to mooch off some, since I'm not a big creator, that I want to mooch off of big creators to do that. And again, not that other small creators are. I just figured that since I want to start talking about documentaries, it's fair to talk about this one. And had this been just some random person, like I know there, Mike Klum, the guy that made this one, and by the way, he did a great job. This was like a Hollywood level documentary. He also did one about Boogie, which, fun fact, I forgot what Boogie's full username is, but if I say Boogie, you probably know who Boogie is. Boogie is actually from Arkansas, which is the state that I'm from, and there's not a lot of big creators from Arkansas. He was one of the first like big guys, and unfortunately I do mean big guy, from Arkansas that, was kind of like, oh, like there can be some big creators from Arkansas. But now some stuff's come out about him, in years past. Probably not a guy you want to model yourself after. I know now, I'm pretty sure Queso is from Arkansas. I'm not super familiar. I don't watch his stuff. But, as a fellow Arkansas creator, I definitely support him. He's far bigger and more popular than I am. I don't even really Twitch stream, even though I do want to get into it. But I say all this to say that this one hits a little different because I remember back in high school, from the 2015 to 2019 era, from freshman year to senior year, me and my friends, so even though I'm wearing a Lions jersey, I just like sports. I like the jerseys I like to collect. This is Isaac Tesla. He was from Arkansas, so that's why I'm wearing them. I'll support any Razorback player. But me and one of my best friends were both Cowboys fans. And so, being Cowboys fans, of course, we knew and heard about who EDP445 was. EDP stands for Eat Dat, fill in the blank with a slang term for a woman's private vaginal area. You can probably guess where I'm going. That's why I haven't said it out. And I generally make pretty family-friendly, clean content, so I'm not going to be soiling that reputation, that legacy, just to say a username. So of course we heard about him because he's a big Eagles fan. That's like one of the things he wants you to know. He is always wearing Eagles stuff. Man, he lives, breathes, sleeps, eats the Eagles. And while I'm, 100% behind, hey, support your team and all that, for one, why support the Eagles, man? That's like the trashiest organization out there. Come on, man. Like, gosh, the Eagles. And second of all, this guy's a piece of trash. For one, he was very dirty, very vulgar, cussed a lot, very inappropriate, very immature. Just kind of got big and popular because he was this kind of bigger black guy, and he would just get really angry and rant about, the things he liked, the things he didn't like. Most time he was super negative on everything. It almost felt like he was playing a character on the internet, which is what a lot of people did back then. But what you see in this documentary and other people's videos about him is that, like, this guy was very much not playing a character. Like, that's just how he was. And it's kind of unfortunate because, maybe if a guy was playing a really great upstanding moral character, then you'd be like, oh yeah, well, I would hope he would be like that outside of, his YouTube channel. Well, this guy played a terrible, despicable, like unlikable character, and unfortunately, like I said, it wasn't a character. That's just the reason he was playing that so well is because that's who he was. And he, had some stuff come out where he was a child predator. He was a pedophile, going after minors, messaging them, sending them pictures of his stuff, and by stuff I mean like his genitals, but also like his poo. Like he was pretty big on that. He loved sending poo pictures. And I don't get that. I don't understand that. I don't understand that from like even if I was trying to flirt with a girl. I think you're taught from a very young age, like, ooh, girls don't like stinky poo fart. They don't like that. So at what point do you have to be so messed up in the brain that you think that's going to get a girl to really flirt back with you is to send pictures of your poo? I don't know. But, and also, what girl would like that? Any girl that would like pictures of poo, I just am gonna put it out there and say like I don't think you're the right person for me. That's not something me and my wife really make a habit of or do at all at any point in our relationship. I don't think I've even sent her pictures of poo. I know she hasn't sent me pictures of mine, but hey, maybe if that's something they want to do, oh well. That'd be different if you were in a consensual relationship and you were completely cool with that and that's what y'all did and you kept it between you guys. That's something no one else needs to know. But to send it to minors and women that you're not in a relationship with, that's some weird stuff, man. That's some real weird stuff. And he tried to meet up with these girls. He got exposed. It never materialized into actual jail time because even though this happened on 2 or 3 occasions, every time, and it was by different people, it was always being set up by these predator poachers or these online pedophile people that like catchers, people that would stage these things or try to goat these pedophiles into making a move on these minors and doing these things, but they did not handle it very well within the law. They would mess these things up. And so what happens a lot of times is if you don't do things right legally, guess what? Results in evidence that gets thrown out. It doesn't matter if this person just blatantly admits these things. They can say, oh, well, you set me up, or, oh, you lied and said this, or you didn't do this. And some, not that I necessarily agree with it legally. Again, I've never been a believer of the legal system. I think it's flawed, messed up, very just not right and not fair. But it just kind of goes to show a flaw that, like, person can quite literally, do these things, say these things under the impression that it is real, but because you lied to them and that wasn't a real girl, or because you messaged them first. I don't understand the whole idea. Forgive me if I don't understand this, which I don't. I don't know where I was going with that speech. If a person sets up a fake account posing as a minor, and that minor messages said, adult, and they are inappropriate back and they sext them or do these things and try to meet up, and the person, the adult, is fully under the belief that this person is a minor, is a girl or boy. It can happen. I mean, to be fair, we always hear it happening with like older men, adult men, and then young minor girls. I'm one of those people. I'm very like supportive of the idea that it can happen the other way around. One of my pet peeves, actually, I see a lot is anytime you see like, and I made a video a couple weeks ago that was like, or maybe a week, I don't know when it was posted, but thanking teachers. My wife's a teacher, and I talked about how like teachers always get a bad rep, and you only hear about teachers and the bad stuff when it's one that's like flirting with students. But I am like fully aware that sometimes that does happen, just like there are male teachers that flirt with their female students, and sometimes there are female teachers that flirt with their male, their young boys, whether that be like elementary kids, middle school, or high school. And one of my pet peeves is that so many times when a woman does this, and the comments to any social media posts or the news articles, it's just disgusting, because if a male teacher does this to a female girl, like a minor, it's like, oh my gosh, lock them up, terrible, this is awful. And I totally agree. That's terrible. That's awful. It's disgusting. But if a female teacher does it to a male teacher, you get very different responses. For one, if it's like an older lady, if she's not very attractive or gross, then people are like, oh my gosh, like this is terrible. How could you do this to a little boy? That's just ugh, filthy, gross. And sometimes you even get a couple comments that are like, oh man, like poor kid, he can't believe his first time was with this beast, this just ogre. And it's just like, that's what you're thinking of. And then it gets worse anytime it's a younger teacher or someone that's perceived to be like very attractive, or like, oh, this teacher's hot. You get all these comments that are like, man, where were these type of teachers when I was in high school? Or when I was in high school, I dreamed this would have happened to me. And they'll be like, this kid's not a victim. He needs to be cheered. This kid's not a victim. This teacher shouldn't go to jail because, like, especially if it's like a teacher that's like in her early 20s or mid 20s, like fresh out of college. And then the kid is like in high school, like, okay, let's say this kid's like 16, 17. It's like, man, there's not even 10 years difference. This kid's already hit puberty. He's practically a man. He knows what he's doing. You can't say that, or like this, it's a grown man at this point, and that there's no way that this woman like overpowered him and made him have sex with him. Totally, I just throwing out the notion that maybe not physically she like held him down and forced him to, but mental or like emotionally, the fact that this person is not, they might have already went through puberty and be 16, 17, almost 18 years old, but this person is not legally seen by the law as an adult. And the adult is. It doesn't matter. And that's been a law that's like, well, this person is an adult. They're the ones that are supposed to know better. They should never initiate. They shouldn't try. And even if approached, they need to say no. It doesn't matter if they're approached. The fact that they did not have the wherewithal to be like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. This is illegal. It's still illegal. They don't get a pass or a way out for that. But you see guys who are like, oh man, like, I wish I could high five this kid. Man, what a stud. This guy's going to be telling this story for the rest of his lives. And you can tell it's just guys that clearly like have never been with a woman. They've never had a real relationship. Maybe they went through something as a kid. Maybe they just don't know how relationships work. And they know that if they're in that situation, a lot of those kids, even if full-heartedly they think that's what they want in the moment, and they think they're, oh yes, this is great. Most of the time, those kids later on, and as an adult, have very messed up like sex lives, and those people end up being like, wait a minute, this, like, I was manipulated. This is not right. Like, this is something that you hold on to. And so I always discuss it to the point where I know what the comments are going to be about, and I can't even look at that anytime it happens that way. And I say all this to say that I don't get how EDP, if he was fully under the belief that he was messaging a real, legitimate, minor, like 15-year-old girl as like a almost 30-year-old guy, and he knows it's illegal, and was acting this way and saying these things and was going to meet up with them and being this vulgar and inappropriate, whether the person's real or not, say maybe, the punishment is slightly less harsh, they still knowingly outed themselves as wanting to partake and do something illegal. It doesn't matter if they were messaged first or approached first, or it wasn't technically a real, people. What is the difference between that and a cop going undercover as a drug dealer? Be like, oh, well, the cop's not a real drug dealer. He's actually a cop, and he approached me first asking me if I have drugs to buy. So technically, that doesn't count. That, I was lied to. I was under the belief that you weren't a cop and that you were trying to buy drugs. So, yeah, I shouldn't have to go to jail. Like, that wouldn't work. That's how cops do that all the time. They go undercover for that reason. So, I don't understand it. I'm not saying, like, yes, I totally am aware it's unprofessional. It was sloppy. It was messed up. And the documentary does a good job of not making those guys look like heroes. Yes, they exposed him. They outed him. but they did it in such a sloppy manner. Like, they were not careful, and they messed it up. And it just was terrible. And they even, Mike Klum brought on Chris Hansen. And Chris Hansen was just like, hey, if it had been me doing this, you would be in jail. You would have been in jail back then. You'd still be in jail now. Like, I wouldn't have let you walk because I do things carefully and professional. I do things right. And EDP just straight up to his face admits to him that he wanted to have sex with a minor and that he was doing that full well, and that, he doesn't think it was that wrong and he thinks it's reasonable. And there's several times in the documentary that just kind of make me sick. I was watching it with some of my buddies because, again, we were the guys that grew up, like, we knew who he was. We weren't, like, fans of his. It was almost kind of like when you hate watch people, and I hate to say that you hear the term, like, preying on their downfall, but you kind of follow someone to the point where you're like, okay, this person's kind of messed up. This person's not right in the head. I feel like they're going to get caught with something. I got a red flag. Like, the alarm's going off in my head about this guy. And you follow them just for the sake of, like, I want to know when I'm right and when something happens to them. Well, we found out when all that stuff was happening. And sure enough, the whole cupcake joke and the meme, and several other people have talked about, like, yes, he is a meme and it's funny to point and laugh at him. But it's also serious to realize that this guy is actually messed up and he is a danger to people. It goes beyond just that. Like, he actually admits in the video, like, there's even a lawyer in the video that's like, I don't know why you would ever agree to do this. Like, there's no sense. There's no way this comes out with you looking like the good guy, or like, oh, you were misunderstood. Maybe he thought that way. There's no reason to believe that. Exposes him for, like, having a porn addiction, having no sex life. I think he had only had it once in his life. And he talks about, like, getting a girlfriend, but being angry at her because she won't let him have sex, which I don't know why in the world you would date a very famous and notoriously known pedophile. Maybe even if you're not online at all, you had to have heard, or a friend or someone told you. And then when someone wants to film a documentary of you, and it's like, hey, shouldn't you ask why? Like, oh, why are you wanting to film my boyfriend? Oh, he's a pedophile. But she just knowingly, and then it shows his best friend talking about, like, nah, man, he's a great guy. He's so misunderstood. He would never do that. I love him hanging around my kids. I'll let him hang around my kids all the time. And it shows a video of him around this guy's kids, and he's talking, like, super vulgar, super dirty, super inappropriate around, like, this, like, 7 and 8 year old kid. And then he's like, oh, sorry, cover your ears. I didn't mean, pardon my language. Sorry about that. Like, it's a joke. And it's just like, dude, and as someone that's, like, wants to be a parent someday, it's worrying and it's disgusting and it's gross. But even if you're not going to be a parent one day, even if you have no interest in being a parent, even if you don't like kids, man, you got to protect them. You got to see people out there and realize that's disgusting stuff. That's awful. That's terrible. And so I can't believe that someone like that is allowed to just roam around. And one of my biggest complaints, I mean, obviously everything in the video is terrible, and I hate it, and he deserves to end up in jail and spend his life in jail. But he talks about how, like, the people that outed him, the people he doesn't like, and online, any kind of influencers, people that talk about him in a negative way, he wishes he could shoot him. That feels like it is also a big crime. He does talk about some people that he loves and that he really looks up to. Of course, it's people that are not really looked up to by anyone else. The Tate brothers, which is a red flag. Donald Trump, red flag. Elon Musk, red flag. Sneeko, red flag. All of these people that are, like, genuinely looked down on for, like, having huge moral issues. People that have been convicted of crimes or should be convicted of crimes. All these people, it's like, I don't know if these are the people you want to look up to, but knowing that is who you look up to, it doesn't surprise me why you think the way you do and why you act the way you do. Whatever. You do you, man. I mean, that's your right. It doesn't make it okay, but that's your right. And it just, it's a big deal. And like I said, one of the things I want to talk about the most is that just really bothered me, because as someone that's a Christian and follows God, and there's already so many, like, misconceptions out there and, like, fake believers and fake Christians that say one thing and do another thing or believe a certain way. One of the things I have a big issue with is when people try to bring up God or religion or anything like that, and they do not have a clue what they're talking about, and they just toss his name around, toss these reasonings and these logics around that just basically spit on that, and on the legacy and what everything that we stand for. And I stand for loving people, and being kind to people, and being there for people to like actually teach them the truth and show them how to actually live a life that can be fun and morally good, yes, but also strive for something better, and to be a good example in your communities and all this. So it's when people like EDP go and in the documentary and say that he believes the reason he is not in jail is because God, and God actually oversaw everything he was doing and saw his heart and realized that like what he was doing was wrong, yes, but that EDP had a good heart and that he didn't mean anything wrong by it. And God, made sure that he was going to come out on top, and he helped make these investigations go awry and improperly, so that he wouldn't have to be in jail, and that he does believe that God is on his side and Jesus is watching over him, and that like they're kind of close, they're kind of bros, and that if Jesus and like if God is really all powerful as we say, then, and he really did do something wrong, then he would be in jail, right? And that might even be a question that some are asking. It's like, well, if there is a God, then how would someone like EDP go off scot-free and live this long in a life of degeneracy while other people that are good, great moral people, pass away or end up wrongly accused of this or blah, 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 blah. And I totally see that. That's very valid. That's just not the world we live in, where sometimes life is unfair. That's the difference between earth and heaven, is that on earth, things like that happen. It's because life isn't perfect. There's sin and temptation in the world, and there's going to be a time. I'm not trying to get super religious on everyone, but there will be a time and a place where things will be set straight. The record will be set straight, and how you treated people and how you acted, and if you were actually truly close with God and had a real relationship with Him, that'll be exposed. And for me and myself and for you and everyone, whether you like it or not, or are a follower or not, that is something I believe, and I also just know. And there'll be a time where whatever happens to EDP, maybe he continues living a life, a free man on earth, and in the afterlife. I wouldn't want to be him. I really hope. I really am of the belief that no one is too far gone to. I got to be careful how I put it. No one's too far gone to have a relationship with God. I do firmly believe that if EDP were to actually wake up one morning and be like, man, everything that I've done is super wrong. I need to ask for forgiveness. I need to repent. And like, I want God to take the rest of my remaining years and like help me change. I do firmly believe that that can happen. Now, I also believe that even if he were to do that, that doesn't mean he gets off scot-free. I am a firm believer that even Christians that, even if you do something wrong, because Christians do sin, they do make mistakes. I'm a Christian. I still sin. I make mistakes. But I also believe that that doesn't mean that, just talking to a minor is just a little mistake. It's just a little sin I did. I just, whoops, slipped up and talked to a minor. That's not how that works. I still believe that if you commit a crime or a felony, that you should still be charged. You can be apologetic about it and ask for forgiveness and be forgiven, but forgiveness doesn't mean accepting that what you did was okay or permissible. So I just want to get that out there as like, man, as someone that tries to be different, like I'll pray for him, but not that like, I hope he gets out scot-free, as in like I hope he does get what's coming to him. But hopefully before, he's got health issues supposedly, and apparently he doesn't have too much longer to live because he's not changing his diet. Man, I hope that before whatever happens, I hope that he sees the light and realizes what he did is wrong, and, that he has hurt a lot of people, and that he has been very disgusting and just is honestly the scum of the earth. And maybe he can try to salvage what little life he has left. But that being said, regardless, there's no denying the man should be in jail the rest of his days. There's been people that have been done far less than what he has and had far worse punishment. There's people every day that wrongly accused of things like I talked about earlier that, or do such minor things that are in jail forever. You commit some tax fraud, you steal a little bit of money here and there, you're in jail for most, if not all, your life. but then apparently you talk to minors online or you try to meet up with them and do really gross things with them, and it's just like, hey, man, slap on the wrist. Don't Just watch out for yourself. Don't do that again. So that's really what the documentary made me think about. A lot of stuff I already knew, but there was some stuff. I will say, if you watch it, viewer discretion, because it's very intense, very heavy. And I even heard there's stuff they had to cut out because it wasn't safe for YouTube. Mike Klum, you can go find it on Mike Klum's YouTube channel. You could probably just type in EDP445, and it's probably one of the first things, if not the first thing that comes up. Mike Klum did a great job making the right people look like the bad people, and then very few, but the right people, the good people. So he did a great job, and also the biggest thing was that he's using a lot of the proceeds that go to it to put to charity for people that have been affected by stuff like that and sexual assault. So, man, just I don't know what's gonna happen. That's kind of crazy, but regardless, crazy documentary. Just felt the need to comment on that because, like I said, I remember knowing who he was in high school and having a sense that like something was up about that guy, and it wasn't right. He wasn't right in the head. And now all these years later, I've already known what he did was wrong, but also like just kind of seeing it get talked about more and more and hoping that something happens. So I don't know. But anyways, in the meantime, take care of yourselves, guys. Adios.